Okay, it is officially recording now as well. Hello, everybody. My name is Matt Bezick. I'm the executive director for the Oregon Trio Association. I am filling in this week. Robin is off, so I'm filling in for all of our PD sessions here. And today I'm excited mostly to pass things over to Jada here in a second, but we are going over some OTA PD around programming ideas, and we're going to learn about their student ambassador program that the Talent Search program has set up. Um, so Jada's going to kind of present here on their program, maybe answer some questions, but feel free. I know we have a mix of folks here that are also on the SSS side. So if there are any questions or ideas around cross collaboration and doing this outside of just a high school structure, like I certainly am interested in learning about that too. But again, this is also being recorded for those other folks. So, Jada, do you want to introduce your lovely self here to these folks?
Yeah, my name is Jada Watson. I am a trio talent search specialist through SWOC. It's the Southwestern Oregon Community College. I'm going to be presenting. We started, I should say, my director. My director started a trio student ambassador program, and she's running it. It's actually both a mixture of talent search and upward bound. So we also have an upward bound specialist, and I helping as well coordinate like the ground feet on the ground, so to speak. So I guess I'll jump in and see about sharing my screen. Sorry, tools tend to not like me, but we'll. Okay. So weird. Can everybody see that?
Yep, they're all good.
Okay. So the main thing with this is that we wanted it to be very intentional from the beginning. So with that in mind, before we ever reached out to students, we set apart the director, Deanne Veritek. She actually talked to the VP of instruction. And so she set this up as a college class. So we got tuition waivers. So the students are getting college credit without having to pay out of pocket for it. Only our high school ambassadors are getting credit for it. We're actually going forward, we're going to end up switching. We have one middle school ambassador right now. We are going to end up starting a middle school specific student ambassador program separate than the high school one. So from the very beginning, we had an application. Students had to do an application where we actually had them tell us why they want to be a student ambassador, what they thought they'd bring to it. They did a commitment statement, got parent approval. There was a selection process, which I'll go into a little bit more, but it was meant to be intentional by design. And so I'll go a little bit also over like the class and the norms. It did help the fact that we actually turned it into a class, because with that, we had to have a clear 10-week plan, including what each of the format of the classes would look like, how many hours we were looking at. We also knew that we were going to want something at the very beginning that was mandatory for all of the ones wanting to do it, so that they could have some team building, kind of grow together before we started planning, which you'll see is the SISQ Leadership Institute, which I'll go into a little bit more as well. And then, so within all of this, we wanted one to have value for the students, but also more than just for them. Also, we're turning around and they are helping plan recruitment events. They're actually helping to plan freshman leadership, which is a leadership conference we do for freshmen, and they're planning it. It's going to be shared out with all 11 high schools that we're in. They'll be bringing their freshmen down for it. And that is being planned almost entirely by students, which is incredible. We're also looking for like, I'm also going to cover like how we're communicating, some of the issues that we're running into. But the whole idea is from the very beginning, there's just so much that you have to think through ahead of time, so you're not trying to adjust on the fly. So for the applicants, we actually had the specialists at the various schools. So we did it for 5 of our high schools, and then we had some newer staff. So we're hoping to bring them on in the second half of the year. But for the ones that we were already very embedded into, specialists reached out to students that they thought would be a good fit for the program versus the next time we're doing this, we're opening it up wider so more students can apply. But we just wanted to kind of iron out the kinks. So we wanted students who could miss school without being negatively impacted academically. So I highlighted on this, we had at least a 2.5 GPA, be able to manage absences, a recommendation, good standing, both behavior and attendance. And then going back to that very first event, the very first event was the only one that was truly mandatory. We took them to the SISQ Leadership Institute in Selma, Oregon for a 2-day event. The first one, which I'll go into a little bit more. After that, we treated it more like a platter, which you'll see in the class, and I can share the syllabus if you'd like. So in order to receive credit, they have to attend at least 33 hours. But other than the class, there's like a weird smattering of different events that they can attend, as well as the actual classes themselves, because we know that every student can't attend every event. But we did want to make sure that that first one was attended by all of them. The Leadership Institute itself already does this, usually with younger students, but we arranged this ahead of time and they made more of a high school geared curriculum for them, included running by facilitators that help with like building the teamwork and the confidence and the trust. They get to plan their strategies for getting across like a ropes course. We also wanted really much for them to work together. And so we broke the students up into 2 groups. One group prepared the entire dinner for the first night we arrived, while the second half of the group cleaned up. And we didn't touch the dinner at all. That was all led by them, ran by them. It was a nacho bar. I don't know if you can tell, it actually went really well. And it was incredible to watch. By partway through the dinner, they were working together so well, not bickering. They were just helping each other. And then the reverse, the people who cleaned up the first night helped with breakfast in the morning and vice versa. And it really, I think, was really key in getting the students all together. We also did a little campfire event where they could have time in the evening after all of this to get to know each other a little bit more. And then we actually did most of the planning the second day. So that first day was just about the team building and then some leadership training with like the ropes course and some training on working together. But we got into the nitty gritty the next day, both with the True Colors personality test, which tells them their strengths. And we had after we did it, we had a whole debrief on focus on it. And then, so they helped plan out for First Generation Day, as well as freshman leadership. And that's that conference that they're planning that'll be shared out with the 11 high schools will be bringing in students. And so the idea is we're going to be doing this class for more than one term. They're actually getting 3 college credits. And each term, there's going to be a big project near the end, similar to freshman leadership, where they're going to be planning it, directing it, hosting it, having feedback on the end. How are they going to improve it, as well as presenting on it. Okay, so I can share the syllabus out. I don't have it on me, but I will send it to Matt. The class itself, these are the things that, because we wanted it, one, to be for college credit, but 2, to be really worthwhile. So it's leadership theories and styles, self-awareness and personal development, communication and team building, ethical leadership and decision-making, and then practical application, and then mentoring and networking. So every single class is set up in a very similar way. They go over research. For example, the last class was essential qualities of successful leadership and strengths-based leadership. So each class has different leadership strategies that we're focusing on the research. And then we bring in a guest speaker to talk about their own leadership journey. for our very first class, we had the VP of the college, VP of instruction and student services for the college come in and speak. Matt Isaac is actually going to be our second guest speaker at our next class. And then the students have their own reflection. For example, like the last reflection was on their qualities and when they've used strength-based leadership themselves. And so they have a personal reflection, and then they also have the ability to share out. And then the rest of it is on planning on whatever events are coming up that they're working on, like freshman leadership conference, for example. Do you have any questions so far? No? Okay. So we also wanted them to get a lot of hands-on experience outside of the classroom itself. So we've been taking them to various leadership conferences, and each time different ambassadors go, so they can each build their own leadership journey. So we had the SOU Leadership Conference, Future Leaders, that we took students to. We're also taking students to the Willamette University Civics Unplugged on the 18th. And then our students are going to be presenting to the school boards at each of their schools about TRIO, what TRIO does, about their work as ambassadors. They're also attending things like recruitment events. They're going to be actually quite a few events. Like, for example, our freshman ambassadors speak when we have like 8th grade nights and we talk about the transition from middle school to high school. They attend, and so that way they can give students a high school perspective on it. Same with like the older classmen of ambassadors will be speaking when it comes to freshmen when they do their own. I know I kind of breezed through that. Does anybody, I provided both my contact information as well as the director, but if anybody wants me to send them anything, whether it be the syllabus or anything like that, I can. I did want to talk about, so some of the things that we're doing, I mentioned, so we're doing tuition waivers for the high schoolers, so they're not paying for the college class. We are also, we have a class in Canvas. It's kind of like the SWOC, or it's the college's like online classes. And so we're kind of using that for a shell. So that way, in addition to the students get a binder with everything like the class agenda, everything that we're doing in meetings, but we also wanted to have access to digital resources as well. So we are going to have a shell, and then as they transition, we can keep the same shell and be able to provide resources to the students. We have run into, so we're a series of rural schools. I think I mentioned we're in 11 schools. Right now we have ambassadors from 6 schools, 5 of the high schools, 1 middle school. So for us, transportation has been the biggest issue. So we do SWOC vans, and we van up the students from all, because we're in 3 different districts or 3 different counties. So we have to van up the students from the other counties. They meet at the SWOC campus in Coos Bay half the time, and then we take all of the students from Coos County and van them down to Brookings, to the campus there, back and forth, just to kind of balance it out. But without a doubt, transportation has been our biggest issue. Any questions? Anything? Well, I'm not seeing anything. If you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Doesn't really matter what it is. If I don't have the answer, I can get the answer for you. As far as if I don't have the answer, I can message my boss and find it for you. Oh, there is the chat. Okay. It is AI assistance. Okay. I think we are good. I'm gonna go ahead and oh, do we have a question?
I do have a question. I'm sorry it took me a while to get on here, but it just occurred to me. When you were creating the credit course, because sometimes that can be a long time in the making, you know, going to the academic and scheduling stuff, but we're at the U of O, so I don't know for sure. Was it pretty smooth in creating the course and getting it up and running? for students to register? Oh, I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Sorry, I accidentally muted myself.
Yeah.
So for the class itself, the director worked with the VP of instruction for getting it set up.
Oh,
As
okay.
far as getting them into the shell that we're using,
Mhm.
we're still in the process of that. Now that
Okay.
was the trickier part. I can, if you have any questions, you can email it to me and I can send it to my director and see if she can get
Perfect.
those answers to you.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, I didn't want to
Perfect.
waste your time. It just occurred to me.
Oh, no, you're good. And I knew there was going to be a couple questions. I didn't have the answer right here and now.
Thank
Yep. If we don't have any more questions, I think that might be it.
Awesome. Thank you again, Jada. And I know we had a couple college-based folks on here. So again, every other month we do one of these kind of like trio program shares and sharing best practices. So I know there are some folks that have either mentoring programs or maybe some college stuff that looks similar in that environment. So if any of you ever want to present out on that, please let me or Robin know and we can kind of profile you like this. But otherwise, we'll take the recording, take all those slides, Shade, if you want to send those to me, and we'll just kind of put them up on our YouTube. So, yeah, that's all we have. Unless anybody has just random trio questions for me, we can call it a day here.